What's going on, you guys? My name's Ty Knots and welcome to Top 5 Unknowns, 5 Creepiest Documentaries. Number 5. Hostage to the Devil is a 2016 documentary that focuses on the life of Malachi Martin, one of the last remaining practicing exorcists. Malachi passed away back in 1999, but the film documents stories told from the perspective of those who knew him best, with an ex-CIA agent even telling the story of how Malachi believed that the spirit of a possessed infant likely led to his unexpected passing that was the result of a head injury. According to the film, Malachi attended his first exorcism when he was a very young man. Apparently, he was visiting Egypt and bore witness to 2 priests who were performing an exorcism. The assistant priest fainted, leaving Malachi to step up and continue the ceremony. After years of working with churches abroad after this, he eventually left his profession and became a taxi driver, among many other things. He was later convinced to return to practicing exorcisms after realizing that the profession was all but forgotten about in the modern world, with Malachi considering it to be an extremely effective lost art. He then continued his practice up until the day that he passed away.
The truth is, whether we like it or not, the devil does exist. He can influence, and he does influence.
Exorcism then is a healing, and it's a very horrid healing, but it does heal. Because inside they're living hell. It's a living hell.
And they're real.
Number 4. This next film is a documentary, though it's actually completely fictional. It's based on an unknown individual who had taken the lives of some 800 people in the New York area. For every attack, he created a separate videotape documenting the event. He then kept these tapes in his home as a personal record of all of his victims. The film's plot thickens from there, though it's a bit hard to give any details without revealing key plot elements. The movie was completed back in 2007 and was planned to release in 2008, though it was pulled from release at the last moment, leaving the film unseen by the public until it was leaked to the internet in 2009. It then remained dormant for some 8 years before finally seeing a DVD and Blu-ray release in late 2017.
Today, police made a shocking discovery in Poughkeepsie.
A third body was found here today.
A Poughkeepsie couple vanished over the weekend, seemingly without a trace.
Do you mind if I film this? I'm making a little movie about my trip.
The Poughkeepsie Tapes.
Number 3. Karla Homolka was a film that was released in November of 1997, documenting the life of a woman named Karla. In 1995, Karla's ex-husband was known to have been involved in numerous sexual assault cases involving minors. While the details of her involvement are a bit unclear, she was ultimately offered a plea deal. In exchange for revealing information about her husband's crimes, she would only receive a 12-year prison sentence, rather than the expected life sentence. All of her interviews with police were well documented and shown in the film. Her psychiatrist at the time insisted that Karla need not receive any jail time for her actions, insisting that she was simply a battered wife who was the victim of circumstance. Though her public persona showed that she had little to no remorse for her husband's victims, and even demonstrated that she was far more involved in the crimes than previously thought. Karla spent her expected time in prison and was released on parole in 2005. She then remained completely under the radar until 2012 when she was discovered by a journalist, who found out that she had remarried and birthed 2 children.
All eyes are now on accused killer Paul Bernardo in a downtown
Jury will hear from Karla Homolka.
In July 1995, Paul Bernardo went on trial in Toronto for the abduction, rape, and murder of teenagers Leslie Mahaffey and Kristen French.
Videotapes said to depict chilling.
The prosecution's star witness, his former wife, Karla Homolka, already in prison for her part in those crimes and in the death of her sister.
It's all part of a deal she struck with the Crown in exchange for one thing: her testimony against Paul Bernardo.
Number 2. This next documentary goes by the name The Devil Made Me Do It. The The film is very short and documents the hardships of two young girls named Cynthia Owen and Teresa Murphy, who are found to have been living with members of a satanic cult. The two girls, most prominently Cynthia, allege that they were forced to have sexual relations with multiple members of the family, with Cynthia going into extreme detail about these occurrences in a letter she wrote just before taking her own life. The film is currently available on both YouTube and Netflix, and is critically acclaimed by many as being one of the most disturbing documentaries ever released. The contents of the film are extremely graphic, so we can't really mention too much about it here, but be warned, if you decide to check it out, it's pretty messed up.
Here on the 60 Minutes program, I told the story of a young English girl, Teresa. I said then that it was the most painful story I'd reported in 28 years. Here's part of what she told me.
Usually one of us would have to go on the Star, and then we'd be raped by everyone who was there.
Did this happen to you?
Yeah, a few times.
How many men would have sex with you at any one time?
It was usually 10 to 20.
How many times did you become pregnant?
7.
7 times. The babies were aborted, were they?
Yeah.
Where were the abortions carried out?
At my nan's or at the house.
Who would perform the abortions?
At our house, it was my nan. And at the bigger house, it was the doctors there.
Doctors were part of those ceremonies too, were they?
Yeah.
Would anything else be done with those fetuses?
They were eaten.
I beg your pardon?
They were eaten. We were made to eat them, and everyone would have a piece.
Number 1. Cropsy is a 2009 documentary that tells the story of a New York urban legend surrounding a kidnapper from Staten Island. While doing research for the film, the writers stated that while they expected to find mostly creepy information pertaining to the man responsible for the kidnappings, their curiosity quickly turned into a full-blown investigation into 5 missing children from the area. The writers had planned to document an interview with the alleged kidnapper named Andre Rand, though after scheduling a meetup, he ultimately declined, leaving the writers with only their research to go on. Shortly after the film wrapped up, Andre was convicted for his involvement in the crimes and disappearances and was sent to prison. The film was then released in 2009 and currently holds a 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
About 15 buildings here have been abandoned for quite some time. They did a lot of searching for the kids here.
Specifically for Jennifer and I believe Holly Ann.
Growing up on Staten Island, Barbara and I had often heard the legend of Cropsy.
You're supposed to have a hook and axe with a knife about this big.
Cropsy was the escaped mental patient who lived in the tunnels beneath the old abandoned Willowbrook mental institution, who would come out late at night, snatch children off the streets.
I would have never guessed with the amount of weirdos living on Staten Island.
It might be somebody on your block. It might be somebody you work with.
You know, here's this guy going around picking off these kids.
I can imagine how other parents, even if your kid's gone for an hour, I can imagine how they must feel.
You know, that's probably one of the last things that you ever think about, that somebody would take your daughter.
It seemed like everywhere I went, there were people out in the woods looking for that little girl.
It's no question. If we were going to find her, we definitely were going to find her.
She thinks we're picking at dead children's bones.
We just want closure on this, that's all.
What was that?
I heard something.
Look down there. Look down in the hallway.
It's scary because we have a boogeyman living on Staten Island all those years.
That image forced a lot of people to say, that is the killer.
There's no reason for him to exist anywhere else, you know, other than jail.
We had the same questions that you're asking me. Why did he do this? What set him off?
It's sort of like putting a puzzle together.
You know, he likes to be the center of attention, the keeper of the secrets.
So I think it'd be great if you could speak for your
What if we just do audio?
Safety, I will not go on.
Do you think they're all around us?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think he's possessed. I really think that he is demonized and possessed.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.